सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। We are going to start Kena Upanishad from today. But as part of the analysis, first I will begin with the analysis of Vedas. Every time when we begin one Upanishad, we will try to do different in-depth thinking so that we get some more clarity in our pramana. When we say Vedas are eternal, Vedaha Nityaha, what is it that we understand by the eternality of Vedas? Veda mantras, they have been seen to have some progression. The classical view followed by most Western scholars about Vedas is that the Aryans, who were Indo-European people, migrated from some areas in western part of current India. From there they migrated to what is currently known as India. More in the Sindhu valley. And from that Sindhu alone, the name Hindu came. Hindustan means place where the development or the civilization which was there close to Sindhu. And they were termed as Aryans or Aryans, as they pronounce, Aryans. And they invaded some people there who lived earlier also. And this is how the Aryan invasion theory became popular. So some people used to live in that Indo-European place, and they entered into Indian subcontinent. And there might have been some inner conflict of the already existing people, or they work together. There also there are different views. And these people, over a period of time, they became more cultured. Their language, they have tried to map Sanskrit language with Latin origin, and some words have common roots, like the word Deva. Devas, which are worshipped, the Sanskrit root Div means to shine, is mapped to the Latin root Deus. I don't know how they pronounce, Deus, which also means to shine. And the root Yaj, to worship, is same in Latin. And the word path is patha, as we say in Sanskrit. So the fundamental things they have mapped as similar. And in our last course, we had one girl from Russia. She used to say, Swamiji, so many Sanskrit things and Russian things are very similar. And I'm sure in other languages also, like non-Indian languages, one can find. Like the word Ritam, Ritam, Satyam, when we use. So they are used in other language little differently. So the theory holds in this way, that there were people living in some parts and then they migrated to this Indus Valley civilization. This is how in history they study. And in these prayers, over a period of time, there was evolution of the lifestyle, of their thinking, etc. So the early mantras, as part of revelations, they were more praise of the devatas. And devatas they considered as natural forces, which were also classified into groups. based on their abode, where they live. So Indra used to be the highest in the early thinking. That's why in Vedas there is lot of prominence given to Indra, and general inspiration is that what is the highest attainment I can have? Position of Indra, earlier evolution. And they say, according to scholars, this earlier and later division is possible based on the refinement of language also. They say the language also has evolved. Because the earlier Sanskrit and later Sanskrit is different within Vedas itself. That's why they say Rig Veda is very old comparatively. But I will come to our thinking. First, let us complete this thought. So, in those hymns, praises, the natural forces were prayed, and there has to be a guardian of these forces, what we call as presiding deity. And if we think now, rain used to be one of the most important thing, because you need water, you need cultivation, harvesting, animals also need water, etc. And therefore rain and the giver of rain, Indra, they were important. Magavan. So Magavan is Indra. So many names are there. So, hey Magavan, the prayers used to be, oh Indra, give this, give that, etc. And Indra's weapon is called thunderbolt. The thunder, the lightning with the sound is his weapon. This is how it was understood. And the other devata was Varuna, water. So that giver of rain and here Varuna, these two became prominent. Then as they saw importance of fire, because water is naturally available, fire was not naturally available. Then came Agni Devata in the thought process, and also that how sun plays a role in gaining rain, etc., or in weather patterns. So slowly this was understood. Because one is directly known, another is only indirectly understood, inferred. So that was the next phase of prayers. But Indra remained prominent, and slowly what happened, there were multiple devatas. And these devatas, they were called Goparitasya. Gopaha means protectors of Ritam, means the truth. Goparitasya. In Rig Veda, last night I was reading, so many Rig Veda quotations are there, but we have to see, because they have given numbers. Now we have to find the original source. So those were the protectors of Vedas, and their other name was Ritayuhu. Ritayuhu means those whose life, Ayuhu, is for Ritam. They are Ritayuhu. Means they are the followers, practitioners of truth. Means they behold the truth and therefore they are our ideals. So they protect the truth, they behold the truth, they know the truth, they follow the truth. So we become inspired to live that life. That's why in the Shanti mantras of Vedas also Ritam, Satyam, these words are there. And the prayers include Indra, Mitra, Agni, etc. Shanno, Mitra, Sham, Varuna. You can see Mitra, Varuna, Indra, these devatas get prominence. In fact, Mitra, they say, is in Indo-Iranian literature also there is Mitra, spelled as Mitra. So that they say is very similar to the current understanding of the Vedas. So these worships that were going on in the form of praise ended up having many gods, what is known as polytheism, varieties, and this is how generally outside the Hindu tradition or Vedic tradition people understand Hinduism means many gods. It is polytheistic religion. But according to the evolution process, they did not remain at that level, the worshippers, because they understood that this manyness of gods is not the fulfilling goal, fulfilling objective, because each devata can grant only certain things. And therefore, the idea of a cosmic being came. And that is why you find Purusha Suktam in all four Vedas. Means in those days there were no four Vedas, but the hymns were there in different parts of civilization in those days, where the idea of one God, so it became monotheism. It was still a theosophy, means like a religion, more less of philosophy. And as part of that, slowly in these mantras, in these hymns, the ritualistic portion started. So the earlier portion is called mantra portion and later portion is called Brahmana portion. And those priests, means those who were performers of these rituals, all were priests in those days. They all started the rituals and slowly it became elaborate. This is how Brahmana Bhag became Vistrita, expanded. So you have mantra and you have Brahmana. And then from this monotheistic idea of worship, the ideas of thinking on that principle which is free from attributes, that developed. Developed in the sense, it became more clear to them that anything with attributes, they may not have used these words, we are using these words because we are familiar with them. anything with attributes will always be understood as something remote, something different. And so from monotheism, the later development was of monism, where philosophy became important and the religious aspect or ritualistic aspects were eliminated. This is how the Vedas developed. This is one idea. Then further, according to the Western mindset, then further what happened, some were interested in dwelling on the truth outside, and some were interested on dwelling on the truth within. So some went on this outward journey, and there came the idea of God and Tatpada. And some went on the inward journey, and that is how Atma became clear, is self, and Tvampada was understood. And in Upanishads, you find their oneness, that what I have understood as the truth within is actually the truth of the creation. So, this process, all this must have taken some time, because earlier mantras are only hymns, praises, and then there were rituals, and then there were what we call as meditations on these things without rituals, seeing oneness of all of them, upasana portion, and then came the evolved knowledge in the form of the truth within and truth outside as one. And so this process, these scholars and historians, they put it on timeline based on the nature of hymns, the kind of usage of words, and the language. According to that, they say there is evolution. And in the earlier things, they say that the unprepared or the raw thinker, his desire was that may I have more cattle in the form of wealth, long life, good health. This is all they used to ask. If you see in Kathopanishad, the first offering that Yamacharya gave to Nachiketa, Shatayusha Putra Pautran Vranishva Bahun Pashun Hasti Hiranyam Ashwan. This itself shows this is what every ritualist always used to ask from their devatas. First level of desires is this: long life, Pashu, etc. means their wealth in those days. Gold, because they must have found that there are some shining things which last longer, shine doesn't go away. So the attraction for gold started from those days. And then long life for oneself, healthy life. This is all they used to ask. And then the highest level of evolution was, may I become Indra. That was the second boon, that you attain Swarga. That you get to be with someone whom you have worshipped all along. And which is life of lesser struggle, more comfort, more pleasure, easy access, everything. So if we look at the development of this thought process, there is a lot of substance in this, because you can't make a statement without evidence. So they study the language, history, everything, and they have found in those days, whatever the Indus Valley civilization, the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they actually found within. So they saw how the houses were, and actually they saw the smoke and all near some places. Means fire used to be there in those houses. So this is one way of thinking. When we say Vedas are Nitya, eternal, what we mean is that the knowledge contained in Vedas, that was always there. It manifested over a period of time, we may agree, because we can't say that everything manifested at the same time in different parts. All mantras did not reveal at the same time. Like here also, we are studying different Upanishads, but we don't study all Upanishads, all mantras at the same moment. We study over a period of time. But they were there earlier. Like that, the knowledge is there, but it expresses, it unfolds over a period of time. And in grammar also, you know that we say now this is Panini Vyakarana and then the Vedic Vyakarana. So there were some differences in the refinement also of languages, the way things were used. So that is also accepted. Means you can't just go on denying certain things, but we have to see it in perspective that this, and at that time also you have to think, if the ritual is going on, so somebody says, I am not interested in this kind of ritual or such worship or singing hymns, but I will take cattle for grazing, I will maintain all. That also was there. Somebody said, I will bring water, don't ask me to sit down and do all these things. So this is how slowly the division of work also started. That some were interested in such kind of practices. Some were interested in other work which would support such practices. Some were thinkers. They said, we'll just sit and think. So this is how the Varnas began. And some people had the responsibility to protect these people all the time, because animals used to be there or other tribes would be there. So the evolution of the current form of society, or whatever we understood as Vedic society, it definitely had a progression. Our emphasis is that for Vedas, if you want to find any authoritative evidence, that evidence should come from Vedas themselves, not from outside. Like another thing. So this one part is clear, as I gave the example, that the desire for those people in those days were long life, Shatayusha, Putra, Pramada, those things. Then becoming Indra, Swargadi Loka. What is the goal of these people? If you see, what is it that they were aspiring for, or anyone would aspire for? If you see Ishavasya Upanishad, Tatra ko mohaha kashokaha means moha nivritti, shoka nivritti. Anyone at any time wanted that. No vijugupsate means no jealousy, no insecurity. Means even in oldest times, this was the goal, that may I not be jealous, may I not be insecure. Even now, this is what people want. Jealousy comes out of insecurity. Shoka nivritti, moha nivritti, this is what people want. So the Veda mantras, what they used to sing in those days, the goal was still the same. So human mind has not changed as far as these needs are concerned. Now also common man means long life, wealth, idea of wealth might have changed. Big house, etc. And putra, pautran, this is what they understand. And highest kind of bhoga is swarga, heaven, in any religion. So these ideas are consistent. If someone says that this is brainchild of some individual, these mantras, there we have objection. Because we say that these were already there, which became revealed, and the evidence of this is in Vedas. Creation also is not the first creation, it was already there earlier and it is continuously going on. If you want to find evidence about Vedas, you find within Vedas. Like if I want to know anything about physics, I have to study physics books. I cannot study history book and find out about physics. So the entire process, if there is a timeline, we accept. If there is evolution, we accept. But it should be seen as how Vedas look at it. So in Vedas it is said the creation was there, and then this Paramatma visualized the whole creation again. Surya Chandrama Saudhata Yatha Purvam Akalpayata. Again it was created, then again. Then the Vedas themselves are the breath of Paramatma. Is said in Vedas itself. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, they means the Rig mantras, Yajur mantras, because in those days Vedas as separate books were not there. But the word Rig, Yajur, Sama were there. The mantras which are in poetry form with the Niyatapada, Niyatakshara, they are Rig mantras. Aniyatapada, Aniyata Akshara, Yajur mantra, and Samagana. So they were there. And all of them are the breath of Paramatma, is said in Vedas itself. And their eternality is also said in Vedas. So in this way, we should understand the Vedic thought process. So mantra and Brahmana bhag, these are the first two ideas. Now I am going to give you little more details based on this encyclopedia of Hinduism. Some more ideas are there. So, because they have collected all the material, I don't know if our library has copy of this. Rauji, check. This is one of the volumes, okay? This is not everything. But it talks about Vedas. You know what is the root of the Vedas, right? With, to know. This we have already discussed earlier. So they talk about these worships, and these worships were in outside common place where they used to worship, because fire and all was involved. Then slowly it became indoor practice at home. So Veda's division is in mantra and brahmana. This you know, okay? Samhita, this is another name which is used. Sometimes you may have question, what is Samhita, what is Samhita? Samhita, Sam and Hita. Hita means dha is the root, to put. So well placed is called Samhita, Samhita. So it is a name given to collection of mantras, Samhita. And sometimes they say within Brahmana there is Aranyaka and Upanishad. And sometimes it is said there are 4 parts: mantra, Brahmana, then Aranyaka, then Upanishad. So sometimes they just said 2, mantra and Brahmana. Then within Brahmana you have Aranyaka and Upanishad. Because in this book, if you see, Gurudev has given mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. You can read the introduction. In encyclopedia they have given within Brahmana there are 2 portions, they are included. Mantra is where these hymns are there, praise, songs. Brahmana is where there is elaboration with rituals. So ritualistic mantras are there in Brahmana. Aranyaka is where these upasanas are there, means meditations. Meditation word I have told you, for upasana also, saguna dhyanam is also called meditation. And that includes all these natural forces, etc. That a thinking mind withdraws from activity and sits and wonders about this creation. See, we are getting everything ready-made. Otherwise, if you have to think, then how would you think about creation? Or how would you think about individuality? That's why prana upasana, that word prana, because the most evident thing is that this breathing that is going on and in and out, because of which this matter has value. Otherwise, this has no value. So, going from this stage, physical stage, to prana, from annamaya to pranamaya, this is evolution. Then somebody feels that, no, these pranas are functioning because of something else. Na pranena, na apanena, martyo jivati kasya. That is evolution. So if one has to go within these koshas, how this person evolves, you can think. And outside, then from the seeming matter world, that I see plants, I see rain and I see sun, but there is some coordination. So then the thinking evolves. So those upasanas, that is the Aranyaka portion, and then there is Upanishad portion, which is the knowledge portion. In this way, the divisions are made. So Aranyakas teach about meditations based on symbolic interpretations of the liturgical rites, means rituals, which are performed for the well-being of all in public. They are called liturgical rites. And they say conventionally it is the word Samhita which refers to Veda. It is the Samhita that is indicated by the word Veda. So when they say Samhita, means they are referring to Mantra Bhaga. Rig Veda means only Rig Samhita or Rig Veda Samhita. The Brahmana, Aranyaka and the Upanishads of the Rig Veda have different and independent names and are considered more like later evolutions. So the word Samhita conventionally they use for Mantra Bhaga, which is the collection of all mantras. And then within those, later what happened, there were shakhas, like branching out, because somebody practiced or remembered this, somebody else remembered this. In this way, different shakhas came within these samhitas. So earlier, Bhagwan Ved Vyasji, earlier means much later, but earlier compared to where we are, he gave these different kind of mantras grouped and gave it to different disciples. If you want to write down the names of them, to Paila Rishi he gave Rig Veda, Vaishampayana Yajurveda, Vaishampayana Yajurveda. Jaimini Rishi Samaveda and Sumantu Atharva Veda. And then that Yajurveda again got divided into Shukla and Krishna. So Krishna Yajurveda, Krishna means that which was earlier, older. Krishna literally means dark. Dark means not easy to decipher, not easy to recognize. And the later part of Yajurveda became Shukla Yajurveda, which is attributed to Yajnavalkya Rishi. Now there is a lot of information here. Self-reading is good. I don't know how much you will be interested in listening or writing down, because here so many things are talked about, the Rig Veda Samhita, it is considered as oldest, preeminent, and 21 shakhas are there in Rig Veda, only 5 are known. Shakala, Bhaskala, Ashwalayana, Sankhyayana and Mandukeya. These are the 5 shakhas of Rig Veda. Even though Mandukeya is not part of Rig Veda, but Mandukeya Shakha is in Rig Veda. And then how many mantras are there and how many adhyayas are there, vargas are there, how they are divided. Or the other way of dividing is in 10 mandalas. All that they have given here. And then quotations are given of different. The famous quotation you might have heard, Ekam Sat Vipraha Baudha Vadanti. So they have given that it is 1.164.46. Then 758 2, 10, 114 5, 2, 1, 11, 8, 127 and 2, 13, 6. Means in so many places, in different places in Vedas, means somebody has done this study. You can't write the numbers just by picking some 7, 5, 3 and 12 people, and because this must be there. So, what is the collective view? That truth is one. It is said in many ways by different masters. Because they must have heard, that somebody is there and he says, it speaks of truth in one way. Somebody lives in some other farther place. He also understood the truth in the same way, expresses in different ways. Sat is one. Their way of speaking, describing is different. Which is what we understand through Isha, Katha, etc., Amrit Bindu. So, how they express is different. Then the creation, that God created the world from Himself, is also there in Vedas. Because generally it is very difficult to get this conviction that creation is from God. Creation is by God is easy. Means that there is some principle who created everything. But He remained away from everything. That also later in the evolution they understood that God and world cannot be different. So there are also quotations they have given here. God creates this world out of Himself, 1081 2 to 1081 4, and rules over it, 1082 1, 619 10, 645 20. These are all Rig Veda quotations. He is omnipresent, 113 10, omniscient, 676 825 9, and omnipotent. Mean these ideas which are relevant now, all of them are there in Rig Veda, that God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, etc. Then He is not only Nimitta Karana, He is also Upadana Karana. So they had understood these and expressed in Rig Veda, which is according to the historian timeline and language is the oldest. So you can't deny that this was their understanding, and this understanding will not come if you try to think on your own. It will just come as some revelation. And this word ritam that I said, that ritam itself included the vyavaharik ritam, which is dharma, and absolute ritam, which is Brahma. This is how the two subject matters of Vedas, dharma and Brahma. This we saw earlier itself. Dharma jignasamananam or dharmam jignasamananam pramanam paramam shruti, and Brahma jignasamananam pramanam paramam shruti. Then there is discussion on Yajurveda. So they talk of Yajurveda means originally the Yajurveda as a Samhita, it should be only in poetry form, no prose. Samhita they say it should be in poetic form. But Krishna Yajurveda had some prose also. That is why it is called Krishna. Whereas Shukla is only poetry. So the names also have relevance. That so much thinking goes on. And the other explanation I gave you, that Krishna Yajurveda is difficult to comprehend, whereas Shukla Yajurveda is relatively easy to comprehend and grasp. And in that Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda had 85 shakhas. Only 4 are available now. You see where we are. In the Rig Veda, we said out of 21, 5 are known. Here, out of 85, 4 are known. Taittiriya, Maitrayaniya, Katha and Kapisthala. Of which Krishna Yajurveda, Taittiriya and Katha is the most popularly known now. So imagine how much we have lost. In fact, sometimes Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, whenever he has quoted something in Bhashya, we are not able to trace from where it is. Means between his time and now, we have lost some things. Then there is more about Taittiriya. When we study that Upanishad at that time, I will mention. And then Samaveda, it is said it had 1000 shakhas. Only 3 are available. Kauthuma, Ranayaniya and Jaiminiya. These 3 are available out of 1000. So much literature was there. Even these 3, if we look at Samaveda, we say, who is going to study this and memorize? If 1000 shakhas were there, and the musical swaras, they came from Samaveda, it is said. 7 swaras of musical scale, they are identical with the 7 scales of classical music. Their origin is in Samaveda. Okay, so I think this much introduction. And then Atharva Veda, it is said it deals with more of our life problems. More like recent, according to their thinking. It deals more with things here and now than hereafter. Major part of this Veda is concerned with disease and their cure. Rites for prolonging life, rites for fulfilling one's desire, building, construction, trade, commerce, statecraft, penances and propitiatory rites, as also black magic, though high philosophical ideas are also found in these Vedas. Atharvana Samhita is divided into 4 prapatakas or books comprising of 20 kandas or chapters, and each is divided into suktas. But they all have portions from Rig Veda also, the other Vedas. That is what is said here. Okay. This is, in brief, the Vedic evolution process. Now in Purusha Sukta, if you see, you have already studied Purusha Sukta, so you know that Purusha is Paramatma, that Purusha is called Yajna. Yajna vai Vishnu, that Purusha is Yajna. Tasmat Yajnat Sarvahutah. Ruchas Samani Jagnire Chandagamsi Jagnire Tasmat. Everything came from that. Richa means Rig, Sama, Yaju, all the mantras came from there. And Tasmat Jata Ajavaya. All the animals, they also came from that. Means everything came from that Paramatma. That is said in Purushoktam. That is, within Vedas itself, they have revealed that this Purusha is the origin of entire thing, and it has thousands of heads, thousands, means it is omniscient, omnipotent, it knows everything, it is all powerful. And it is above this creation. How much above? Atyatishtat dashangulam. 10 fingers above everything. So whatever you understand is above that. And one pada is this world. Padoscha Vishwabhutani. Tripad is urdhvam, is above. So from these hymns we understand how much they had understood of creation of Paramatma. Okay. Also, in Kenopanishad, before we start Upanishad, we will see in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in all these places, there is one chapter called Vamshaja Brahmana. Like in Brihadaranyaka, in 2 places it comes, where they talk about lineage of Guru Shishya. So we can understand that whoever studied whatever, they had a teacher, and they had their teacher, and they had their teacher. So from whatever most well-known teacher, they have traced everything back to Brahmaji. If you see in library, Brihadaranyaka, 2nd chapter, 6th section. In your mantra pushpam you can see if you have. 2nd chapter, 6th section is all different Guru Shishya. Anyway, you can see later. So that is there. That shows that the revelation also came for each student from their teacher, and in Vedas itself it is said that Paramatma gives this teaching to Brahmaji first. Yo Brahmanam Vedadati Purvam. And we chant the mantra also, Om Namo Brahmadibhyo, Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhya. So the Brahma Vidya Sampradaya is there from Guru Shishya. It is not that randomly here and there things just show up. Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha. 6th section is there. All Guru Shishya are there, right? Another section is also there later in maybe 5th chapter or 6th chapter. Okay. And then in Upanishad itself, you saw, in Ishavasya, you saw, Iti Shushruma Purvesham Yenastad Vyachachakshire. What is given? Iti Shushruma Dhiranam Yenastad Vyachachak. Means this is what we have heard. Shushruma means we heard from our teachers, or the first teacher must have said, I have also heard it. Shushruma means this. In Kena also you will find this. Means everything is heard by everyone. Nobody said, I wrote it, I knew it. Iti Shushruma. The mantras themselves talk about the descendants of these revelations. So when we think from Vedic standpoint, what we have understood now, that they are revelations and therefore they are Nitya, then within them, Vedas themselves talk about Paramatma revealing Shastras. And Vedas themselves, they say, Naisha Tarkena Matirapanaya. The Tarka will not give you. That is also said. So, it is not that some people sat down, had a conference call and they just decided, okay, let's write the Vedas now. Their understanding, after all, whatever that they understood, they said this was revelation. And it is attributed to teachers. Parampara is also there. Okay. I think this much is enough introduction. At least we get some idea. Because when you read different matams, when you, I don't know, here you are reading or not, but outside when you go and you will hear that Aryan invasion theory is there and this is there and somebody's brainchild is Vedas, then you should understand where they are coming from and you should have clear idea of what is our viewpoint. Right? That you have to see within Vedas as to what we are saying, how the evolution is there, even though timeline may be there, language, that is acceptable, but the mantras, they themselves were always there. In Mundaka Upanishad also you will find that all these things Paramatma created. And if somebody says that Aryans, they invaded, remember the word Arya means cultured. So, an uncultured person will do invasion. Cultured person, they will live harmoniously. If they were uncultured, the hymns and all would not come. The very fact that mind gets purified, then only you think of something higher, something divine. Otherwise, you are just busy in the day-to-day activities. Okay. So, with this, I will understand the introduction as how about Vedas, how the Vedas should be understood by us. That their eternality means of the mantras, their pramanyam is within them, they are the authority, no external evidence is needed and no external evidence can be valid to validate Vedas. We don't validate Vedas, mathematics by checking in physics or history book. So like that we don't need external evidence. Internal evidence you have to see. Okay. Tomorrow we will begin Upanishad. So then I will give Upanishad introduction tomorrow. But you should read the introduction that Gurudev has given in your book. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.